Have you ever noticed that no matter how much money you make, you never really feel rich? Surveys show that even households earning over $250,000 a year in the United States, well into the top 5% of income earners, often still say they feel middle class or even financially stressed. So, why is it that even when people reach the kind of income they once dreamed about, it still doesn't feel like enough? Let's break this down because the answer reveals more about psychology than it does about math. The truth is, money has two sides: the actual number in your bank account and the way your brain interprets it. This video will explore why you'll never feel rich, even if you technically have money. We'll look at how lifestyle creep eats away at your sense of wealth, why comparison culture destroys satisfaction, and why your brain adapts so fast that even big wins start to feel normal. But stick with me till the end, because I'll share one surprising mindset shift that some people use to actually feel wealthy, even without millions in the bank. Let's start with the first reason: lifestyle creep. This is when your spending grows as your income grows. Imagine you used to make $50,000 a year and lived in a modest apartment, drove a used car, and cooked at home most nights. Then one day, you get a big promotion and now you're making $120,000. At first, you feel incredible, but soon you move into a bigger house, buy a new SUV, and start eating out at nicer restaurants. The bills pile up. Suddenly, your expenses have scaled right alongside your income, leaving you with the same financial stress you had before, just in a bigger house with better furniture. That's lifestyle creep. A 2022 Lending Club survey found that 64% of Americans live paycheck to paycheck, including nearly half of those making six figures. That's right, even people earning $150,000 can feel broke if their expenses climb just as fast. Now let's look at the second reason: comparison. In the age of social media, it's almost impossible not to compare yourself to others. You might feel proud of your salary until you see someone online showing off a luxury vacation, a new Tesla, or a massive home. Economists call this relative income, the idea that how rich you feel depends less on your actual income and more on how you stack up against your peers. If your neighbors or coworkers seem richer, your own success suddenly feels smaller. This isn't new. In fact, even in the 1950s, studies found that people were more concerned with whether they earned more than their neighbors than with how much they actually earned. But now, with Instagram and TikTok showing you millionaires and billionaires every day, the gap feels bigger than ever. No wonder it feels like enough is never enough. But there's another psychological factor at play: hedonic adaptation. This is the tendency for humans to quickly return to a baseline level of happiness after a positive or negative change. Think about when you bought your first car, your first home, or got your first big paycheck. At first, it felt incredible. But after a few months, maybe even a few weeks, it just felt normal. The human brain adjusts fast. So when you get a raise or hit a financial milestone, the boost in happiness fades quicker than you expect. This explains why even lottery winners often return to their original happiness levels within a few years. Money buys comfort, but it rarely buys lasting joy. Now, here's where it gets interesting. Because if lifestyle creep, comparisons, and hedonic adaptation all make it hard to feel rich, is there any way to break free? One strategy some people use is shifting the definition of wealth. Instead of measuring wealth by dollars alone, they measure it by time and freedom. For example, having 3 months of expenses saved might not make you a millionaire, but it gives you peace of mind and freedom of choice. That's real wealth. Another mindset shift is gratitude. It sounds cliche, but studies show it works. Research from the University of California found that people who regularly practiced gratitude reported feeling happier and more satisfied with life, even when their financial situation didn't change. Gratitude reframes your focus from what you don't have to what you already enjoy. Finally, let's bust a myth: the idea that there's a magic number that will finally make you feel rich. Many surveys have tried to pin it down. A Charles Schwab survey found that Americans think you need a net worth of about $2.2 million to feel wealthy. But here's the kicker. Even many millionaires report that they don't feel rich. Why? Because the target always moves. Once you hit $1 million, you compare yourself to someone with $5 million. Once you hit $5 million, you compare yourself to someone with $10 million. It never ends. So, the real takeaway is this. Money is essential for stability, security, and opportunity. But the feeling of being rich is more about psychology than the size of your paycheck. If you're chasing the number alone, you'll always feel like you're falling short. But if you define wealth in terms of time, freedom, and gratitude, you might actually feel rich, even if your bank account isn't overflowing. Subscribe for more insights like this.